It's Tuesday night, 11:32 p.m. You're in bed with your phone 2 inches from your face, brightness turned down like it's going to judge you. You open your bank app just to check because tomorrow is payday, unless payroll runs late again like it did last month. The number loads, $184.16, and instantly your brain starts doing that gross little spreadsheet thing. Rent auto drafts in 3 days, $1,620. Your phone bill hits tomorrow, $78. The minimum on that card is due Friday, $95. And you remember too late that you promised your niece you'd help with the $60 team fee this week. Then you see it, a $14.99 charge from a software trial you swear you canceled. Not a crisis, not dramatic, just enough to make you start planning your life like you're defusing a bomb. So you do the adult stuff. You move $200 from savings, even though it was supposed to be don't touch. You turn off auto pay on one bill because you need control of the timing. You open your calendar and count days like it's a survival game. And the weird part is you're not shopping, you're not spending, you're just managing fear. Then the moment hits. It's not when you hit zero. It's when you catch yourself drafting a text that says, "Can't make it tonight, swamped." When the truth is you can't risk a $28 tab turning into a $280 week. It's when you avoid checking your email because there might be a bill in there. It's when you say no to something you actually want, not because it's irresponsible, but because you're scared of the timing. Sound familiar? Here's where it gets interesting. The real problem isn't that you're bad with money. The real problem is that money starts controlling you at the exact moment your bank balance becomes a permission slip for your personality. When every decision has to pass the same question first, will this make next week worse? And once that switch flips, you don't just spend differently. You talk differently. You choose safer plans, safer jobs, safer versions of yourself. Because your brain learns that one surprise charge can knock your whole month sideways. My name is Ben, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, psychology, and why smart people become weird, anxious versions of themselves around a number on a screen. If you like videos that are practical and a little uncomfortably accurate, hit subscribe. Now, let's name the exact moment that switch flips and the simple way to take the wheel back without a new job, a perfect budget, or pretending you have more discipline than you do. It shows up first in tiny social moments where you don't look broke, you look strategic. Someone in your group chat drops, "We're doing a birthday thing Saturday, $45 for the tasting menu, plus we're splitting a ride." And you don't even answer like a person, you answer like a calendar. You open your notes app, do the math, and then you send the most annoying sentence in the English language. Let me see how this week shakes out. The first thing that changes is your reflex. You stop responding to invitations based on what you want, and you start responding based on what won't create a problem on a specific date. You aren't choosing plans, you're choosing outcomes. And the weird part is you can feel yourself getting quieter in the group because it's easier to fade out than to admit you're doing mental accounting for a night that's supposed to be fun. Then it hits your identity, and this is the part nobody warns you about. You find a role you actually want. Maybe it's a different team, a different company, or going freelance. And the pay is better long term, but the ramp up is messy. The recruiter says the start date would be about 5 weeks after you accept. 5 weeks. That's not a career decision anymore. That's a survival question. Because your rent is $1,620, your phone is $92, your minimums are $310, and you've got $430 sitting in checking. So you stay, you don't negotiate, you don't take the interview, you don't become the person who tries. Money isn't just limiting what you do, it's limiting what you're allowed to become. And notice how it's triggered. Timing. Not, "I'm bad with money," not, "I'm irresponsible." Timing. Like when your internet bill is set to auto pay on the 3rd, but this month it hits on the 1st because of a weekend processing thing, and suddenly you're short. It's a $95 charge. You had the money, just not on that day. And now you're paying a $35 late fee that feels like proof you can't relax for even 1 week. I call this the permission trap. When your balance becomes the gatekeeper for your personality, you don't ask, do I want to do this? You ask, can I survive the consequences of being a normal person? But here's why this happens. When the margin gets thin, your brain stops treating money like math and starts treating it like safety. And safety always wins. The first thing that changes is your attention. When your margin gets thin, your brain treats money like an active threat, not a spreadsheet. So you start running background checks on your own life. What's pending? What clears overnight? What did I forget? It's not you being dramatic. It's uncertainty. Your brain hates uncertainty more than it hates bad news because bad news at least lets you plan. Here's where it gets interesting. The exact moment money starts controlling you is when you stop trusting the next 72 hours, not the month, the next 3 days. You're fine on paper, but you're not fine in timing. You see processing, pending, scheduled, and suddenly your whole mood is built around words that aren't even numbers. Let's do some uncomfortable math with one simple thing: the not enough funds fee that hits when a payment tries to pull and your account is short for a few hours. Say it's a $29 fee. If your account is tight enough that this happens just twice a month because your paycheck hits at 9 a.m., but the payment attempted at 2 a.m., that's $58 a month. That's $696 a year. Not because you're reckless, because your life is being run by a clock you don't control and you're paying rent to the calendar. And the real kicker is what that $696 buys you. Nothing. No extra comfort. No better service. It's pure punishment for having low margin. It's money you could have used to create actual breathing room, but instead it gets siphoned off to confirm the fear that you're always one click away from consequences. The hidden cost is bigger than the fee. You start making clean decisions based on avoiding embarrassment, not building a life. You avoid signing up for anything with a renewal date, even if it would help you. You stop committing to plans more than a week out because you don't trust what your balance will look like when the moment arrives. And you become weirdly easy to pressure because the person with no margin can't afford to say, no, I'll wait, even when waiting is the smart move. But here's what changes when you build even a small buffer. Your brain stops scanning, not because you got better with money, but because money stops being a daily threat and goes back to being math. And that's the door to the fix. You don't need a higher salary, a perfect budget, or a new personality. You need one small thing, a buffer that is physically separated from your day-to-day spending, so you stop living like every bill is a trap door. The goal isn't saving more. The goal is removing the moment money hijacks your choices. I call this the two-zone buffer. You have one account/card that runs your life, and one separate buffer bucket that exists only to stop timing from controlling you. Your life money pays rent, utilities, your phone, transit, whatever. Your buffer is not for fun, not for investing, not for someday. It's for the exact moments that usually flip you into panic mode. A bill hitting earlier than expected, a payment that posts twice, a pharmacy pickup you can't delay, a kid's school fee you forgot was due today. The rule is simple. Every payday, the first transaction is a transfer into buffer, even if it's small. One number to aim for, $500. Not because it's magical, but because it's big enough to absorb most surprise but not a disaster hits without you rearranging your whole personality for a week. Here's the timeline if you do $35 per payday and you get paid twice a month. Week 1 to 2, you're at $35 to $70. That's not savings. That's interruption. It's the first time you can cover a $46 charge without doing the midnight math spiral. Week 4 to 6, you're around $140 to $210. And the weird change is you stop checking your balance before you answer texts. By month 4, you're at about $280. Month 7, you cross $490, and now the calendar loses its teeth. A payment can hit a day early, and it's annoying, not identity threatening. And the first thing that changes is you stop making decisions based on posting times because Buffer absorbs timing mistakes without turning them into consequences. The second thing that changes is you become harder to pressure because I'll decide tomorrow stops being code for I can't afford to be wrong today. The third thing that changes is you take cleaner risks, like applying for a role with a slower hiring process, because your brain isn't treating every unknown as a threat to your rent. And when something happens, you use Buffer once, then immediately go back to feeding it on payday. No punishment, no shame. That's the moment money stops controlling you. When a surprise expense becomes a line item, not a personality event. So there you have it. The exact moment money starts controlling you isn't when your income is too low. It's when your margin hits zero and your brain starts treating every decision like it could trigger consequences. Most people think the problem is spending, but the real problem is permission. When you can't say yes, no, or let me think, unless your bank app approves it first. If you're in it right now, do one thing today. Set a rule called 48-hour margin. Pick one bill you already have on autopay, say it's $118, and make your only goal to hold $118 in a separate bucket at all times. Not $1,000, not 3 months, just that one number. On payday, you move money until that bucket is back at $118, and then you stop. When the bill hits early, late, or twice because the system was weird, you don't negotiate with your life. You just let the bucket take the punch and refill it next pay cycle. That's how you train your brain to stop scanning the calendar like it's a threat. And here's where it gets interesting. Once you can cover one known hit without flinching, you'll start noticing the control loosening in places you didn't expect. Your tone in conversations, how quickly you reply to invites, whether you apply for something that won't resolve this week. Here's the line to remember. Money starts controlling you when your next choice depends on your next deposit. If this helped, subscribe. Next video, we'll talk about how to raise your margin without cutting everything fun or living like you're grounded.